That's what I want. How many kids y'all got? How many kids do you claim? How many kids do you claim? How many bills? How many kids do you claim? So we got parents in the building, right? Three club, me. That's me. Three boys. I got boys nine, men, four men, five. Can anybody top five? Can anybody top five? Tim got five. Yikes, Tim. God bless you, brother. All right, so I got three boys, 9, 6, and 2. Now, I'll speak for everybody. I'm not even gonna say for the men. I'm gonna speak for the men, but I'm gonna say everybody. You all can understand this, right? This is the craziest thing, y'all. Have you ever, as a parent, thought about a couple things? One, as a parent, my children do the same things in some different way that I used to do. It don't even have to be like the same, but it's like that boy look, he think the way I used to think. He did something in 2022 that I did back in 1994. Like it's really a crazy thing, right? Now, watch this. This is where it gets deep. My okay, when I was coming up, teenage years, young 20s, I was heavily into women. Like that was like I made a whole like it was a lifestyle, right? And I mean a lot of men can attest to this, right? But I'm saying like past like we made it a goal to like, who could we, get with this weekend, how many, blah blah blah. Like that became a thing. And I'm not saying that's normal. It's really a perversion of attraction, right? You shouldn't be to that degree, right? But then as I got older and I became married, I started to wonder where did that come from? Because as I was around different men of different character and integrity, they weren't like that, or they weren't driven to some of those things, right? No, watch this. So here's what's deep. When I was 19, I had dated a girl. I didn't even date her. I met her at the club, and we did it twice. And I remember one time she had told me that she was a dancer, and I ended up recording her dancing. Right, I'm 19 years old. So much so that I showed my father. I showed my father the video of this girl dancing. That's crazy, right? This is my dad. Like this ain't like he ain't no like ignorant dude. Now, why was I able to do that? Because the life that my dad lived when I was young, because he was living such a life and made my mom, unhappy and all that, what ended up happening was he was incapable of teaching me the very thing that he was doing. So he couldn't teach me something that he was doing. So guess what? Now I'm a young man without the lessons while my father's in the house. I don't have the lessons to actually take with me as a young man at the time that I need it. It's like a person objecting to using hammers their whole life and never teaching you how to use one because they don't need hammers. They'll hit it with their hand. They rather hit it with the screwdriver. They refuse to use hammers. And the minute that you need one, you have no clue how to use it because it's not a tool you were ever equipped with. So when we talk about our childhood wounds, a lot of times it is based on the fact that our parents were ill-equipped to even give it to us. They weren't even equipped to have. I didn't have children until I was 29 years old. I was 29. My mother had me when she was 22. My father had me when he was 24. I can't even imagine how they were raising me with what they knew, no college education, the parents they came from. And when I realized that my parents were growing up at the same time as me, I then understood how all the other outcomes made sense. They were babies themselves. Think about a 22-year-old now. A 22-year-old being able to raise somebody with no money? How? So the fallout of that is very, very real. I say, and then when I think about that, it's my self-awareness has increased so much that now I have provided grace to my parents. I have worked on myself because I knew that if I did not do that, that the past would continue to rot away everything that I desired in the future. Because if I didn't get it, I had a scapegoat, which was my parents, which was the fact that they did this, they didn't do this, they did that. I had to work through the idea of forgiveness, because if I did not, I would cease the level of responsibility I needed in order to become the man that I needed to be. I needed to forgive them so that I could own 100% of who I am today. If you're, let's say that you just, you never wanted to get your credit right, you never wanted to get your finances right, you just wanted to rent everything the rest of your life because you didn't want to be responsible. And the more you're not responsible for something, you never really learn to take care of the whole entirety of whatever it is that you have. So if you have a house and you rented houses your entire life, apartments, you've never made an effort to own anything yourself. You never even learn what it takes to sustain the foundation of the house, to make sure that the outside of the house is taken care of, to make sure that the roof is taken care of. Why? Because you never had to take care of everything. You just had to take care of the parts that you could make look good. So as a man, as a woman, it was important to me to work on the inner child so that I could own 100% of my actions, my responsibilities, and therefore I could control more of the outcome. So now I control the outcome because I'm no longer fleecing and leasing that part to my mom's inadequacies as a young teen, as a young 20-year-old mother. I'm no longer leasing out the parts of me that don't perform each and every day to make it happen for my family to my father, who didn't teach me how to provide. I am owning that part, right? So now how do we get there? So part one is we need to operate under this idea of self-validation, okay? Once we have enough awareness and we know what our wounds are, this is where we find ourselves often very triggered, okay? We can start like accepting, first of all, we need to start accepting the pain, the emotions, and the experience that we're going through or that we've been through. Because validating ourselves is extremely crucial, because this is what many of us did not get as children. Many of us didn't get validation as children. Validation, Tim, listen, young man, you are handsome, man. Listen, that brain of yours, the stuff you think, when you be talking to me, man, you going somewhere. I'm telling you that now. Man, look at you. That to a young boy opens up his mind for the simple stuff. Tim put together a puzzle. He put together that puzzle. He was working on it. Let Tim's father come by and say, "Oh my goodness, boy, y'all look at him. This boy is smart. He can put together anything." You walk away feeling big, like a king, like amazing. But without that self-validation, then you look for validation in places that are ill-equipped to validate you, right? Friends, the streets, women, right? Women. And I'm speaking for us brothers and women. I will get to y'all in a second. For men, self-validation is so important, because even when it comes from our mom, when our mom doesn't validate us through love, touch, and care, we then spend so much of our adult life as men seeking validation through our penis. And so now that validation is through our penis is somewhat of almost a soothing, or, girl, tell me how I'm doing in bed. Tell me how I'm this. Do I look? You're looking for validation that your mother never gave you, and you've now, and the only way that you learned, the first time you learned that you got it was through sex. So now you went back to the well. I need validation. Ooh, the first time I got it was through that. So now it becomes a cycle. Now you don't really realize how you got there, but now you look back and you're like, damn, like that's how I got there, was because that validation I didn't get from my mom, Trudy gave it to me the first time she told me that I was killing it in the bed. So now that's the only place I've actually ever sought out true validation. And I didn't know why I was to get it. So what does validation look like, right? Oh, women, I'm not leaving y'all out. So validation is women, right? And, my wife, she'll actually, if she was here, she would actually tell the story herself. When she was young, she had sex early, right? And, for her father, when she had sex early, she was probably like 14 years old. He called her a hoe, basically, at 14, like verbally, like those are the words he used, like, And, here's a man, he's a Christian man, and he's all these things, a business owner, and he's very well paid. And this is her father's the first time that he crushed her this way. And so at that point, she lost all validation. So where do you think that she learned to start seeking it? She went right back out to get it from somebody who was telling her that she fine, that she this, she that. He aborted his ministry, right? He truly he gave away his ministry, and it took them 15 more 20 years to get back to a space where she respected his voice. And so what women do often, and tell me women, I could be wrong. I'm not a prophet or nothing like that. But tell me if I'm wrong. When you go through this, what ends up happening is you end up seeking not only validation, but you seek security through other people that you have no business seeking security from. Right? You needed that security, and validation extends to security. So now security looks like the tough guy, the drug dealer, the guy who's willing to take risk because he looks a little tougher than everyone else. And so your identity for what security looks like from a young girl is this. This is the first time you've probably felt secure, that you felt safe. So now here is somebody who is also masquerading around as a man because he has, he's carrying a pistol, he's dealing drugs, he's tough, he's beating the robbing people, whatever he's doing. And what's happening is you're identifying with a misconception of what security looks like. But he's also identified with what a misconception of security looks like. So you have two people who are truly broken. Two people who are truly broken, and we wonder why these relationships don't last. We wonder why he bounces when things go wrong. We wonder why you continue to bounce from the same guy to the same guy. He bounced from the same girl to the same girls because you're seeking to fill a hole that you can't fill. Validation looks like this, okay? Validation looks like this. Like it looks like noticing when we are feeling X, Y, and Z. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling scared. And telling ourselves, listen, I know, April, that you're feeling scared right now. And that makes perfect sense, Felicia. Given what you've been through, then I'm going to take care of you. Okay? Or it's saying, I know you are feeling uptight. You're feeling terrified right now. It's okay. I'm here with you. Now, yes, you're talking to yourself, and it might feel weird at first, but it will work because you are giving yourself the words that you never received. And so take it back. Your parents are saying, you're the 9-year-old person. A lot of times is who we're living through, right? Wherever you were broken is probably where you might be stuck. You might be still living as your 13-year-old self to this day in how you operate, how you see yourself, how you see other people, how you see fear is all based a lot on the little boy who is still terrified to this day. So if you were the little boy, imagine telling your kids, all of you had kids, and they come to you and say, Mommy, I'm feeling scared right now. And you would say, that makes perfect sense, baby, given what you've been through today. I'm going to take care of you. Those are the words that you needed to hear. But because you're not seeking it anymore and you're not a child, you have to give yourself those words, all right? So we're going to start replacing negative self-talk and shaming with genuine compassion for ourselves, right? This is what we call reparenting. This is the power of reparenting. It is the essence of, I am no longer looking to get this from my parents because your parents might still be in the same place they was in 1997 when En Vogue was hot and Boyz II Men was winning Grammys. They might still be there. So you can't go back seeking that from them. So you have to reparent yourself. Sometimes we get the opportunity and the blessing to be reparented by other people. It could be a mentor. It could be a pastor. It could be, it could be somebody who's just older than you who took the time to love on you in places that you didn't get. Reparenting is super important, and if you don't have those people, reparenting is intentionally holding space for ourselves and our feelings. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're seeking to create a safe environment so we can grow and heal through the past. All right, number 2. All right, so we already talked about self-validation. We're going to talk about seeking out supportive relationships, because reparenting is a long process, and it's one that can honestly be kind of helped along tremendously by having a safe and loving relationship. Okay, when you have these safe relationships, you let your guard down, your vulnerability is heightened, you feel better, you feel safe. I mean, this is why you tell the deep and dark secrets to somebody, whoever that person is, for whatever reason they have created a safe space for you, and hopefully it's not one-sided. Okay, because a safe space is typically two-sided, where we're exchanging information. It's a reciprocal, or maybe it's a therapeutic relationship where you're in a safe space and you're giving it to a therapist. But a lot of times, if you have a safe friendship, man, you have to honor that. I mean, how many of y'all know, as you've gotten older, that the idea of having a ton of valuable friends looks completely different than it did in high school? Today, a valuable friend is somebody that you can call and tell them your deepest and darkest fears, secrets, needs, and you might get one or two of them. TD Jakes said, if you're blessed with one friend, you are blessed. If you get one good person in your corner, consider yourself tremendously blessed. And that's just true, because everybody got something going on. But if somebody's able to make time for you and say, man, I'm willing to hold space for you. Listen, what I do with my friends is, if and Tim, I'm using that as an example because you're right in my eye gate right now. You right here, bro. If Tim called me and said, yo, bro, like, you got a second? What I do to hold space, and I'm gonna teach you how to do it, so you can teach others how to do it for you. Tim would say, man, I'm really going through, man. I'm in a bad space. I would ask Tim, do you need me to listen, or do you need my advice? And so now I understand exactly what Tim needs. Tim needs me to listen. He could say the craziest stuff I've ever heard in my life. I'm here to listen. I ain't got nothing to say. Because maybe Tim speaking gave him clarity. Maybe it showed him exactly what he needed to do. Maybe there was no one listening to him, and that's what was keeping him frustrated and anxious. How many of y'all been anxious because you didn't have any space to actually speak? You just needed a moment in the day to talk, right? And so here's Tim. He's ready to let me speak because he's a supportive friend. Or if he needs that advice, I want to do 80% listening and 20% giving. And then when I'm done giving, I want to validate that I'm right in the correct space. Tim tells me, man, that he's going through financially, he's going through this, he's going through that. Hey, Tim, listen, man, I understand, man. I've been in situations similar to that, okay? I don't necessarily understand you, but I've been in situations similar to that. And I understand how that can be frustrating. So, Tim, if in that situation, I think it might be a good idea if you reached out to . Am I kind of on the same page with you? So now that way I validated his story. I didn't say I totally understand you, because I don't understand him. I don't know exactly what he's going through today. So I don't want to invalidate his feelings by saying I understand you. I also don't want to take over his testimony and what he needs from me by totally hijacking the story and telling him all about my past, right? Like, I mean, anybody know who does that? Like, you call somebody, you just need somebody to listen to you, and next thing you know, you talking about them and you taking care of them, right? I want to be there for him in this moment, and I can find another space in which to talk about myself, but right now I am here to put him first. And when I do that, I may be the only person he talks to that day. I don't know if that is the day that he thought that it was over, that he has no more emotional resources to give and he wants to prematurely end his life. I don't know if he wants to do that. I am here because I never know when someone or one of my friends is in that position. We have seen how many people have, prematurely terminated their life, and they've shown TikTok videos of them hours before happy. Right? I mean, I'm not here to suppose that Tim's cool. No, I'm about to listen, and I'm about to give him everything I got, because maybe I'm the only person he talks to. All right? So, number 3. All right? Basic self-care. All right? Self-care. When we talk about self-care, we are talking about the essentials, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about the essentials when he talks about, if you've all seen it, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid. And Maslow talks about, the needs and the things that we need, okay? And so when we're talking about, the at the bottom tier, all right, we are talking about like some really basic stuff. And you would be amazed about how many people don't have the basics of this stuff. And so at the bottom of the pyramid is the physiological needs that we all need. And when I tell you we all need it, if I will tell you this, if you found out that somebody did not have the physiological needs, you and your family are working together to call. This is air. So, right? So maybe the air, even the air quality, right? Water, shelter, food, sleep, clothing, right? The ability to reproduce. Like these are physiological needs that we have. So right, these are the bases where we like, yo, wait, he ain't got nowhere to sleep. Yo, y'all call mine. Let's see what we can do, right? He ain't got no food. Like these are the basics. Like we all squad up together for these things, okay? Next is gonna be safety, right? This is basic care. And I want you to identify yourself about where you are on this list and what you're not getting, okay? Safety, right? The security of my body, right? I feel safe in my home. I feel safe as far as my health, maybe. My employment, my resources. If I was in need of something, do I have a few people to reach out to? My family, my health, my property. Am I living in a safe neighborhood, right? This is where we call safety. This is next on the ladder. Now we get into love and belonging. And this is where so many people stop, y'all. All right. Many of us have friendships, family, and we get some sexual pleasure. Cool, right? Everybody get their rocks off a couple times a year, hopefully. You know what I mean? Hopefully you do it in a safe way, in a consentful way. You got some friends you get to kick it with, have some drinks with, watch the game, barbecue, family, people you can count on, for some base, right? Those are the things. So now that's love, belonging, safety, and physiological. Those are the three. When we start going up the ladder, now we're at esteem. This is basic care. This is basic stuff. Esteem. Do you have self-esteem? Do you feel confident? Do you feel like you're achieving? Do you feel like you have the respect of others? Do you feel like you are respected by others? Do you feel respectful of others? Is this where you stopped? Are you missing a few of these? If you're missing a few of these, it's going to be hard for you to get to the one above. That's kind of the rule of the pyramid. If you're missing this one, it's hard to get to the next one. You can't even focus on the next one. It doesn't exist, right? If you don't have that pyramid, it's going to be hard for you to be creative. It's going to be hard for you to be a problem solver. It's going to be hard for you to be spontaneous, right? That's the level of self-actualization, right? The idea that you can become the most of what you can be, okay? So why is it important that we fulfill some of those things, those relationships? Because we're trying to get to the top of the pyramid. And if I don't have proper relationships, it's going to be hard for me to become the whole essence of who I can be. So I need to take care of myself and my whole self. I cannot let go of some parts of this in the pursuit of money. I can't do it because that little kid is going to come back that didn't have friends. That little girl is going to come back and she's going to start talking to me when it comes time to expand because I don't feel safe. And I've never felt safe. And so when it's time for me to expand and to spread my wings, I'm incapable of doing so because I've never addressed the safety needs of my life. I've always dealt with safety needs, right? So these are the basics you need to make sure you're providing for yourself, right? For your body, your inner child daily. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating regularly? Are you eating foods that help you feel good? Are you moving your body regularly? Are you getting some fresh air every day? Are you making an effort and finding time for the things that bring you joy? Are you making time to connect with people who fill you up as opposed to drain you? Are you willing to take the risk and have the courage in order to get rid of people who are draining you, who are parasites, parasitic, sucking the life out of you? Are you willing to get rid of those people? Who cares how long you've known them? Who cares how well connected they are to your family? Who cares how much revenue they bring you? If they're sucking the life out of you, you are being attacked in every phase, and it's not going to last long. Okay, so your inner child cannot heal if you don't have a strong and consistent self-care game. Now, why? Does anybody know why The healing work of the inner child would be compromised if we're not consistent with our self-care. Y'all can come off mute. Does anybody know? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. If if my 2-year-old didn't feel safe, right? If he didn't feel safe, he was constantly under attack by his brothers and cousins. He never felt safe. How easily could he like learn to develop language? Like, could he actually take the time out to do it? Like, he couldn't even, like, that wouldn't even be his primary focus. His focus would first off be stop being under attack, right? Like, his first primary need would be to stop being under attack. I say this to say, like, yes, like I just said, you need a strong, consistent self-care game. Let's rewind back to little kid. If I'm a little kid, I'm 9 years old, right? You can't move forward exactly. Watch how I play this though. I'm 9, 10 years old. My mom, my stepdad is a drug dealer. He's also a drug user. So any given season, whether it's 94 or 95, any given year, he's either using it or selling it. So we either up or down, whichever one. So what ends up happening is I start living in fear. And it starts playing on my schoolwork. It starts playing on my energy. I'm up late. They're arguing late. Just drama, right? I woke up one morning, y'all, and I remember waking up as a 9-year-old and walking out of my bedroom, and there was a trail of blood on the carpet, like all the way back. And I was confused, like, what, what in the world? And so I'm confused, and I end up finding out that he had got shot the night before. Okay. And you got to think as a kid, like, that's very surreal. That robs you of something. That like robs you of your safety almost. You know what I mean? Like you just feel completely like open to society. Like, are we cool? Like, are we safe? Like, are we good here? You put that into the fact that I had to go to school that day, right? I had to communicate with my friends. And this was continuous. I had all types of situations growing up. Vice kicking in my door, sheriffs, all of that. How much could a kid concentrate in school with all that playing on his head? Like, you may think that he cool. He can come back and play Sega Genesis and go outside and play football, but something was taken from him. He was robbed of something. And so when you start fast forwarding as this adult, self-care is going to allow you to kind of stand strong as you're consistent every day. I do this to keep myself tight while I'm trying to heal, right? Like I need to keep this thing as strong and sturdy as possible so it can heal without any regression, right? Because if I don't take care of myself, the things that hurt me are going to start turning into maladaptive behaviors. So that trauma has to go somewhere, right? From our childhood, from our teen years, from our young adult. It has to go somewhere. And a lot of times it comes out sideways into addictions, into poor choices. And so if I don't have self-care, that stuff's about to come and hurt me. So I have to take care of myself every single day and be aware enough, like, if I don't do this today, or even if I let a day pass, I'm not perfect. There's 2-3 days, but I gotta be aware that I gotta get myself to church. I gotta be meditating. I need to go work out. I need to go and hang out with some friends and step away from work, because how many people know that you can stir meaning short-term energy release behaviors. You can stir and work your way chronically through work as a means of trying to cope with stress. You can just work your way down to nothing, right? And you're not really productive. You're just working because it allows you to escape and forget all that you've been through. So you think you're being so dope and productive when truly you really are not trying to deal with your stuff. I didn't understand what the song Bag Lady was about with Erykah Badu like forever, right? I mean, as a kid, you shouldn't understand. I legit thought it was about this lady who did not like carrying grocery bags. I promise y'all. I did not understand what Bag Lady was about. Didn't understand. But when she talks about bag lady, you gonna hurt your back dragging all them bags like that. At some point, y'all, we gotta let that past go. And we're gonna have to do things that are uncomfortable. You have to live like no one else so you can live like no one else. You have to live like no one else so you can live like no one else. You have to take a year where you disappear. I am rhyming. I promise y'all I'm not a preacher. You got to take a year to disappear. And that's cool. Because when you come back, you still got hopefully and prayerfully another 30, 40 years to go kill it. But if you keep going along each and every year, believing that you can go along at 60, 70% because you've trained yourself to, well then, first off, you're not even, you're in this wealth circle and you're never going to be rich. Because to obtain this level of success takes a level of consistency that is beyond simply strategy. Like to become the monster it takes to become rich takes you to be holistically great. It takes you to be holistically great. Drive out to a nice neighborhood, a wealthy neighborhood, and see what people are doing in the morning, and see how many workout facilities are in those neighborhoods, how many people are walking, how many places where you can like recover and get the IVs. Think about how all this stuff exists in those neighborhoods. Why? Because they understand how important health is. And if you're not holistically right, then throw it out. What are we doing? Right? Your body and your inner child need to understand and trust that you're going to show up and take care of them consistently. Consistency is how trust is built. Period. Facts, right? Good. All right. So, boundaries, all right? Am I good on time, y'all? Am I good? I'm good. I don't want to overrun. We good? All right. So, boundaries, right? When we talk about boundaries, we are talking about this idea of what I allow inside my space, okay? We can look at it as, we like to look at it as circles, right? So we have our outer boundary, we have some people say middle boundary, and we have our inner boundary, okay? Our outer boundary is the values, the things that we project that protect, okay? Outer boundaries is the things that we project that protect. Our values, our morals, all those things line us up to create a boundary, right? It is why you don't cuss around on Sunday a grandma at Cracker Barrel. I ain't saying I go to Cracker Barrel at all, but I'm just saying if you was at Cracker Barrel and you seen a grandma, she's got out of church, you're gonna mind your mouth even if you just came from the club, because something about her says that she has some morals, there's enough value around her that we watch how we behave, right? That's what you want for your life. You want to live an integral life, so where people understand your character is someone that doesn't get invited to that party, right? Your character is someone that they don't get that business opportunity because it's a little shady, right? They don't flirt with your partner. They don't do certain things because that's a boundary that your character has put up. Your character has allowed that to happen. You don't even have to say much. It's just who you are, okay? When we talk about the inner boundary, these are the behaviors that we use to protect ourselves, okay? So, and this is where it's extremely important, of course, and this is an area of my own personal work where, my dad didn't have a ton of boundaries and neither did my mom, so I've struggled in this area over time. So I'm speaking experientially how important it is to have these boundaries, because when you don't, it's like stuff is always trying to find a way to take your focus and concentration and your resources. If you don't have inner boundaries, it is coming to take your resources like locusts, okay? And so those inner boundaries, right, of self-discipline, consistency, relationships. Who do I talk to on the phone? How do I use my phone? How do I spend money? Where do I spend money? Just my behaviors. Am I a porn addict? Am I, a gambling addict? Do I like pleasure too much? Am I almost hedonistic? Am I seeking of pleasure? Like, who am I when it comes to myself? I get in that mirror, I strip butt naked, and I'm standing there after the last ignorant thing I did. How do I feel about me? Like I look at me, no one knows what I just did. Who are you? What is the thing you do that if someone knew what you did in the last 12 months and you did it twice, how do you feel about that? Could that get out? Could that get out? Could you survive that? Could your business survive it? Could your marriage survive it? Right? Would your kids talk to you? That's boundaries. And that is the encroaching of boundaries. That is the effects of not having them. It's either or, right? Either you don't have that and you're like, Chris, I ain't worried about that. I'm good, bro. Or maybe you're saying, you know what? I do let that dude come over, when my kid goes over his dad's house. And no one knows it, but I don't like it, but I don't have a control over my pleasure, right? And here's why. And I'm telling y'all gotta break it down, man. Like life is so crazy to me. When you really think about this idea of, say you let Johnny come over, right? Now you let Johnny come over because in your mind, mama's feeling a certain way. You just got your hair done, nails done, you feeling good, right? And you need some company. So now he comes over, and you're not proud enough of him to come over when your kid's there because your kid gets the best of you, right? He gets the best reflection of who you are. So you don't want him to come over then, but something in you still entertains this. Why? Because it's not you today that needs it. It's not you that needs it today. It is the little teenage girl who didn't get it. And so any moment and window you get the chance, I can almost guarantee y'all, and tell me if I'm lying, the minute that you get space for any of this stuff, you get time alone at home, you get a vacation by yourself, whatever it is, that voice calls you in nanoseconds. It's like, I got time. You on the phone, you texting because you got a second to heal and soothe that aching. And quite honestly, y'all, if you think about it, we're no different than heroin addicts when it comes to how we deal with pain. We sneak. It anesthetizes us, right? It numbs that pain just long enough for us to forget that it's an issue. And but we criticize the heroin addict because they show the physical symptoms of illness. But if we could walk around and show the physical symptoms of our illness, man, come on, y'all. Come on, man. Right? We get away with the criticism of other people because it doesn't show. But the minute that our stuff's shown, like, okay, now we accountable. But there's little accountability because we get the masking, all right? So boundaries are important because when working with boundaries, again, awareness is gonna be the first step. Becoming aware of our own boundary system, right? How we set it or how we fail to set it, right? Personal boundaries when it comes to relationships, with family, friends, your partners, is the starting point. Okay, we start there. Then we can look at what's working for us and what isn't. We can decide what changes we need to make in order to speak up for ourselves or advocate for ourselves and our inner child. Speak up for ourselves and our inner child. Okay? Now, I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to close. We hear a lot about like the ego, right? We hear about the ego. Can anybody come off of mute and tell me what the ego, like, how do we use the phrase ego? In modern society.
It's like somebody that's boastful, always bragging.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Right on. Right on point. Anyone else?
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
For me, basically what I say when it comes to ego, I say it stands for edging God out.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. Anyone else?
I would say probably like your self-esteem, um, feeling that you're more important than others, putting
Very
yourself
good.
first.
Very good. Very good. All right, y'all. So here's the thing. So the ego is a very interesting thing, right? because somehow, some way, like we have conflated the ego to be almost like personality driven. Okay, and in some ways it is, right? Um, the thing about the ego is it's kind of like the ego. I'm trying to figure out a very simple way of explaining this. And you already can see it. It's not what you guys said, but I understand that's typically the explanation because society has taught us that that is what how we explain it. So the ego is it's the subconscious part of our personality. It is it is the thing that we defend because it is the person. It is the one thing that we defend because it is the deepest identity place of who we are. So, for instance, you were neglected, you were abused, and you grew up believing what if that happened to you? That you were not valuable, that you were not worthy of love, and you believe these things, right? So, when someone then tries to love you, a couple things happen. One, you may reject it because it's not who your ego tells you that you are. It pushes it away. You know, you've already believed it's a core belief. You don't believe that to be true. It's like it's very hard for your ego to accept that you're worthy of this love. You know, what is this? It's foreign, right? And so you push it away. Your conscious pushes it away. And so consciously, people will address the part of you that is showing, and they'll say, she is so hateful. Like, she is just hard to be around. And then you will start believing that. Because why wouldn't you, right? That's the part of you that you know as well. But the subconscious part and the inner work is that goes back to that first story, right? Of who and how that was created. How was that created? Your ego is essentially like an identity that comes from, yes, Takura. Is it Takura? That is essentially the inner programming. It is the computer workings of who we are. We believe that, right? And so we have to be very conscious of who's talking when things are going on. Our conscious thoughts are like our wishes, our desires, our thoughts, like that we're aware of at any given moment, right? These are the things that we're aware of. But our unconscious thoughts are wishes or desires that come out because they're built within us to some degree. So we have to be very careful about who's talking, right? And then the more you actually like think about it, then you can start doing the work around, it's called like doing shadow work. So I want y'all to research shadow work. You're gonna research shadow work, okay? I want y'all to research shadow work, okay? Research shadow work. You're going to do some shadow work. You're going to address the person behind you talking for you that you don't even know is talking for you. So you ever been in a room and people are like, yo, how many people in here want to make $1 million? And you're listening and like, you want to get jazzed up, but something in you be telling you, sit your ass down. You don't believe that. You don't believe that. Like, sit down. You don't believe that. You know you don't come from that. And it rehearses and replays that video again, right? Who you are, you're not that. It tells you who you are. Sit down, you're not that. And it's talking to you. And so you think that you're a person who doesn't have motivation. You'll start driving yourself crazy, thinking that you're not a person who wants anything. But truly, you have to go back into your timeline. And this is why it's important for you guys to create a timeline. Get out a sheet of paper like we used to do in grade school and write down the events of your life that took place. This is a therapeutic practice. And go through the timeline. Who was there, what they said, how did it affect you? And you're going to start putting together, oh, damn, that's crazy. I forgot that when Uncle Terry said that to me, I forgot about that. That my mother didn't say nothing to defend me. Man, I remember that. Man, okay, so what did I think? I probably thought my mom, she wasn't safe. I probably thought that, and I grew up, I didn't tell my mom stuff. And that's why maybe me and my mom don't have a good relationship today. But doing the timeline work allows you to start seeing things and putting them in place. And it makes sense of your life so that it's hard to look at your life in one big category, right? It's hard. Break it down so you can see it. Um, but yo, does anybody have any questions, y'all? Thank y'all for y'all time. Is there any questions in the room? Was this valuable?
If y'all got questions, go ahead and raise your hands. I'll go ahead and bring you back up. And just remember house rules, couple questions, and let the next person go.
Y'all better take advantage. Y'all better get it while y'all can. I'm in the building. Tyrus, talk to me. Thank you, Tim. Thanks, Shanika. Thanks, Ange.
So quick
All right,
question, man. Hey,
talk to me.
you said a lot of great things, man. You brought a lot of value. There's a lot of people they do have a trauma in their past, and they kind of negate them from doing stuff in their present and overall their future. But what books do you recommend? Like some good books or audio books that you recommend?
Oh my gosh, bro. There's a necessary book. She is taking the country by storm with her work. I think she is one of the foremost on this topic. And I'll give you two. One is How to Do the Work by Nicole LaPera. For those who follow Dr. Nicole LaPera, she's a genius.
How long you said what is it again, sir?
The title is How to Do the Work, and it's by Nicole LaPera. And then the next book is going to be called The Body Keeps Score. Another fantastic book. This book is actually provided in academic circles as well. That book is, I mean, they're both amazing. I mean,
You
you're
said
gonna
how
get,
to you said how the body keeps score.
yes,
Yeah, I got you.
fantastic. I mean, it's no way. I mean, the Nicole book is I mean, unbelievable.
Is
I mean,
these
you're gonna learn so much about just self in general that you'll be a different person after you order that book.
these books are they just books or are they on audio? They audio as well.
Both.
Okay, perfect. Because I like to listen to audio when I'm working out. It just soothes the brain, man.
Man, it's fantastic. I'll tell you this. I just found out last night, and I'm a little slow on this one. That I didn't know that YouTube has audiobooks a lot of times for free. Didn't know that.
That's dope, man. That's real dope.